Before I begin my sermon this morning, I want to remind us that, yesterday we celebrated our 250th anniversary of our nation. And as several TV shows and celebrations that we saw, we heard the Star Spangled Banner. And Pat, I don't know if this is going to be what you're looking for or not, but over the harbor of Baltimore, the British ships had come in mass. Their goal was to destroy the city of Baltimore and take over Fort McHenry. And if they get what is now known as Fort McHenry, if they could take over Fort McHenry, then they could take over Baltimore and couple that with the defeat at Washington, and they would win the war. The battle raged all night long through a thunderstorm. The flag did not fly the entire night because of the thunderstorm, but they kept raising it up and down periodically to let the soldiers know to keep fighting. So from a different ship, Francis Scott Key, when the dawn broke, looked across the harbor as the bombs had stopped being heard. The shells were no longer fired, and he knew the battle was over. And he looked across the harbor and penned these words: "Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming?" Remember, I said you didn't see it all night long. So when the sun went down, it was the next morning. "Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?" Church family, our history as a nation is not perfect. I heard explained all weekend long by so many that this is a grand experiment. 250 years is not a very old country. We're a work in progress. We're a work of a vision of our forefathers that said, what if this could work? We celebrate freedom of worship and freedom from want. We celebrate freedom of speech, the right to bear arms. Things that so many nations in this world outlawed, controlled, and even imprisoned people for those very things. Journalists in Great Britain are in jail because they write articles that don't agree with their government. See, we don't think about those things. In America, we don't have those issues. Celebrate our nation. Our forefathers were thirsty for freedom. They were hungry for a new way of life. And they made it happen. And you and I are blessed because of it. Many people died so that you could sit in this seat this morning. And many people died so that you could hold a copy of God's Word in your hand. Because believe me, Satan does not want you in God's Word. This morning, the title of my sermon is, Are You Thirsty? I almost changed it to as the deer. Psalm 42 is our text this morning. If you want to open your copy of God's Word, or you're on your device or your iPad or whatever you've brought with you, Psalm 42, and I'll be reading from there in a moment. But Jesus Christ said, "Come unto me, all who thirst, and I will give you drink. Come unto me, all who thirst, and I will give you drink." So I ask you this morning, are you thirsty? What do you desire more than anything? See, many have fasted and starved themselves for long periods of time, and some go without various elements of life's needs. One element that we know we cannot live without is water. Have you ever been really thirsty? And I don't mean the average thirst where a drink of water sounds good after a long walk or after working outside in the garden. I mean really, really thirsty. I'm talking about where your tongue sticks to the roof of your mouth, and all you can think about is water. There's a story that was written in 1996, and I dug deep to find this, about a young Marine corporal named Joey Mora. Joey was standing on a platform of an aircraft carrier in the Iranian Sea, and he fell overboard. Nobody missed him for 36 hours. A search and rescue mission started and was quickly given up 24 hours later. Nobody could survive the sea for 60 hours, even with a life jacket. His parents were notified that he was missing and at worst presumed dead. But the rest of the story is one of those stranger than fiction events. Script writers would pass it up as not believable. After 72 hours, some Pakistani fishermen found Joey in the ocean. He was treading water in his sleep, clinging to a makeshift flotation device he had made from his trousers, a skill that he learned in survival while he was in the military. He was delirious, but they pulled him into the boat. His tongue was dry, his throat was parched. 2 years later, he did an interview with NBC's Dateline with Stone Phillips, and he spoke about his story of life and survival. And Stone said, "Who would not give up? What made you keep going?" And Joey said it was God who kept him struggling to survive. His discovery by the fishermen would be like searching for a needle in a haystack, a piece of cake. He said the most excruciating thing of all was that the only thought that took over his whole body, that pounded through his brain, was water. Have you ever been thirsty like that? That it's all you could think about? Now, for some of us, we remember dating when we were teenagers and our mind was obsessed, and it's all we could think about. Some of us are interviewing for a job, and it's like it's all we can think about. Some of us are going through struggles, and it's all that's on our mind all the time. But see, God says, and you say, well, what's going through a struggle got to do with being thirsty? You're thirsty for peace. So you're thirsty for resolution. Would you agree with me that we've all been there? That the thoughts consume us? That it's all we can think about? Maybe the death of a loved one, and it's you can't even sleep because your mind's just so consumed and swirling around. The lion, when he's ready to hunt, doesn't just go sit around and think, oh, I think I'll go kill something today and eat it. He does what any hungry man would do, and he tells the women to go get him something to eat. That's a joke. You do know, by the way, the lionesses do the hunting. You do know that, right? Not kidding. But a full-grown male lion can consume as much as 70 to 85 pounds of meat in one meal. Now, that's a lot. We were invited yesterday to a cookout, and Dayton was manning the grill, and he had about 75 pounds of meat over there, it looked like. It's a lot of food. But after he eats, he won't eat again for a week. A lion that is full and satisfied is not much of a danger. He's not a threat because he's not looking for his next meal. After a week of sleeping and roaring and just being what the king of the jungle does, he's starved for some more red meat and he's hungry again. Folks, they're talking this morning. We're going to talk this morning about a thirst. But I want you to take the word thirst and use desire. See, one type of thirst is a physical thirst. We just talked about that. And there's some facts about that are interesting, I think, about a physical thirst, is that it's something that we all experience when the pituitary gland secretes two hormones in the body. One causes a physical reaction in the kidneys, and the other causes a more complicated action in the hypothalamus in our brain that sends signals to the saliva